So you're looking for a gun for home defense, right? So it's time for you to choose your first dedicated home defense firearm. What are you going to choose? Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate having you here with me. I feel a little rough this morning. I look a little rough this morning. I've been a little under the weather, but it's okay. It's all right because I'm here for you. And I know that a lot of you have been asking, and I know that it's been, I was supposed to have posted something like this several days ago. But I've had a lot of difficulties. I've had a lot of health difficulties. My wife had to have emergency surgery. So I've been super busy. But I'm back. We're ready to do this. We are going to get into choosing your first home defense firearm right after this. Asking me, what do I do? What kind of gun do I want for my home defense, to defend my property and family? What should I do? Because there's a lot of information out there. I want to say this. The internet is full of myths. There are a lot of, internet shooters, internet rangers out there who know everything because they keep going to different videos and they watch all the videos and they get all this information. So they know it all. There's not a lot of experience in a lot of this, and there's not a lot of intellect in a lot of this. It's just a lot of, popular opinion that goes around. And once somebody is sold on a certain belief, sometimes they just stick to it forever, regardless of what the truth is. So I'm here to cut through the crap. I'm going to try and give you the simplest, easiest possible descriptions and ideas. I'm not going to go with any of these beliefs that people have. I don't do brand bias. I really don't. I don't believe in all this, elitism that you see on the internet. So we're going to cut through all of that, and we're going to get raw. We're going to talk about what you need to know. Now, understand that this video is dedicated to people who are getting their first home defense guns. This is not for the seasoned shooters. If you're a seasoned shooter and you know what you're doing, don't waste your time with this video. Go watch some of my other videos. They're a lot more fun. No, this one is for an entry-level gun buyer who just wants to, as I said, protect home and family. Now this is going to take a while, and I'm going to try and keep it short. The goal here is to give you some basic information, and you need to ask me questions for your situation because every situation is different. Think of guns like buying a vehicle, a motor vehicle, okay? There's a reason that there are minivans and sports cars and sedans and trucks and all these different things on the road, and it's because everybody has their own particular need. If I've said this in a previous video, if you are running out to buy a car and you've got a family of 6, do you go to the sports cars? I mean, if it's your first car, your only car, do you go straight to sports cars? No. A sports car is something you'd buy later because it'd be for you, but you have a family of 6 to move around, so you would go out looking for a full-size sedan or SUV or minivan or something like that, right? So your needs, your specific needs are what's important. There are guns for every specific need, and there's no such thing as a gun that does everything perfectly. There's not. Every firearm has its place. Sometimes its place is simply to bridge two different places. And you're going to understand a little bit more of that as we go through this class. Anyway, so let's talk about your home defense scenario. The first question you have to ask yourself is, how much are you defending? Are you defending an apartment complex or an apartment? Or are you defending a home on a ranch with several acres of land? That's important, because let's start with the large property protection. So let's say you have livestock and you're protecting them from not only bad guys, but from wolves and coyotes and predators. That's going to change what you're carrying. If you have that kind of property, if you're concerned about people coming onto your land and doing harm to you or your livestock or your property, you need something, a rifle. You need something semi-automatic, something that can really launch some rounds with precision. If you've got a group of coyotes attacking your cow, you're gonna need something that you can fire quickly, reacquire quickly, shoot at the coyotes with multiple rounds, because you're gonna miss, and risk as little harm as possible to the cow. So people ask me, well, why do you need an AR-15? That is why you need an AR-15. That is the perfect firearm for protecting a large property and, your agriculture from anything, any predator, be it human or otherwise, okay? So yes, AR-15 is perfect for that. Now, is the AR-15 good for home defense in an apartment or a small home, a small property? If your property is more than 30, 40, 50 yards across, you probably don't need an AR-15. It's not harmful to have it. I'm not saying don't get one because you don't need it. I'm saying that it's not ideal for your first gun for your home defense. Keep this in mind. If you shoot an invader with an AR-15, as long as we are within rule of law, you will have to go to court. And when you go to court, the opposing attorney, who's trying to put you in jail for murder because somebody broke into your house and you killed them, that opposing attorney is going to hold up that AR-15 and tell the jury how you owned a weapon of war and couldn't wait to kill somebody with it. And chances are a lot of that jury is going to buy that nonsense. So, while it is your right and your privilege to own such a firearm, and I support you owning such a firearm, I want you to consider that if you had an opposing attorney holding your life in his hand, holding your future and your freedom in his hand, would you want him showing the jury, a mean-looking, scary machine of war killing assault rifle? Or would you want him holding up a shotgun from Granddad's garage, right? You have to understand that whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, the reality is that you'd probably be better off with the shotgun for that purpose. So think about that when you make this decision. So the next question is, all right, well, what about a shotgun? A lot of people ask me about shotguns. I implore you to go watch Paul Harrell's video on shooting through walls. He shoots through walls. His name is Paul Harrell. He's an instructor, and he takes these drywall out and sets it up as if it were a home and shoots through the walls. I was going to do that for this video, but I figured, well, he's already done it. Why do I need to repeat his study? And I've repeated it for myself, just not on video, and he's been accurate about these things. What you'll find is that a 12 gauge shotgun with slugs or with anything seriously lethal, even down to birdshot, it's going to go through a wall or two. Anything else is going to go through all the walls in the house. So you have to consider that if you're shooting at an invader in the middle of the night and either you miss him or you hit him and it over penetrates, you're going to be shooting into the next room over too. So you have to be worried about that. You have to consider that. Now the caveat to that is that birdshot tends to slow down significantly when it hits, well, it stops in people, and it does plenty of harm. Trust me, at 5 yards away, a birdshot, like 12 gauge birdshot, is going to put someone on the ground. They're going to be burning. They're going to be hurting. If they didn't anticipate getting shot at, they're going to change their mind. Whatever they thought they were going to do, they're not going to do. They're going to back out and run like hell if they are capable of running. Getting peppered with birdshot sucks. So yeah, it's a great shot for that. It's a great weapon for that. Like I said, buckshot and slugshot and all that, yeah, you'll blow a hole right through them. Chances are they won't live to see tomorrow, but it's going to be messy. There's too many potentials for, over penetration, getting into your kid's room or whatever like that. I suggest against that. So the point is, yeah, here's the problem. If you have a shotgun, if you have any long gun in your house, clearing from one room to the next with a long gun is much more difficult than with a handgun. Manipulation of a long gun in a home is much more difficult. The military cut down their long guns to 14 inches because they started clearing homes instead of using, shooting across the deserts and woods and jungles and all that. So they gave up the lethal velocity so that they could be at close range moving in and out of rooms, but still maintain a certain amount of long range lethal velocity. So they do it differently for a reason. You're not doing both in theory. I mean, if you are, you are. But for the most part, you're looking for something for your home in this scenario. So we're going back to the AR, the long rifles, the shotguns and all that. That's just a little long. Now, Taurus and a few other companies make revolvers that are 410 revolvers. They shoot 410 shot. It's called the Judge. And then I think Smith & Wesson has the Governor. And there are a few other companies that make similar kinds of things. These things, yeah, that would work. I mean, a Judge shooting 410 shotgun at 4 or 5 feet away, yeah, that would that would do the job. But there's some drawbacks. There's some drawbacks to the smaller revolvers. There's some drawbacks to a lot. For everything, remember what I said before, for everything something's good at, it's bad at. Shotguns are great for lethality, but they suck for moving through a house with. ARs are great for long range, but they suck for moving through a house with, and they look bad in court. Revolvers, the problem with a revolver is, you usually get 5 or 6 rounds. In self-defense public carry, if you're carrying, on your hip, 5 or 6 rounds is usually going to be plenty, because, in most self-defense conflicts, concealed carry conflicts, you might get 2 or 3 shots off before the whole thing's over anyway, because you're standing right in front of the person who's assailing you. In that scenario, if you're shooting somebody from 5 or 6 yards away, you better have an ironclad reason why you're doing it, because you're going to go to jail. It's not self-defense if you're not, an immediate threat. So, in your home though, if somebody's in your home, it's, at least in Florida, it's reasonable to assume that they were intending to create bodily harm. In that case, you want something larger, more controllable, and easier to aim with higher capacity. So think about this. If there's a myth on the internet and a myth among people that smaller guns are easier to handle, that bigger guns are harder to handle. The truth is, it's exactly the opposite. The bigger the gun is, the easier it is to handle when we're talking handguns, pistols. The reason is a large pistol is going to be heavier, and the sight radius is going to be longer. That longer sight radius helps your aim. It helps significantly. The shorter that sight radius, the greater the margin of error. So the longer sight radius, the better your accuracy is. And you got to understand, you're probably going to be woken up in a stupor in the middle of the night when this happens. Chances are they're not going to do it while you're wide awake and everything's going normally, right? So if you're woken up in the middle of the night, you got to go into the room and clear the room. You want as many rounds in there as you can get, because eyes might be a little groggy, you might be a little groggy. You want to make sure that if you miss, you have lots of chances to hit. And with a home defense firearm, that's the key. So for most small homes, I suggest a full-size pistol with a high capacity relative to your smaller carry guns. So, 10, 15, 20, 30 rounds, whatever you can get. It's, you know, more than 4 or 5. You know, I mean, why settle for a revolver with 6 shots when you can get into a semi-auto with 17 shots? Now, the revolver, the good thing about a revolver is you get a lot more power. The bad thing about a revolver is you get a lot more power. Like I said before, over-penetration is a problem. So you could think, oh, well, I get a 44 Magnum or a 357 Magnum in a revolver, and I can have all the power in the world, and 1 shot, 1 kill, and all that nonsense. Yeah, but 1 shot, 1 kill for him, and maybe 1 shot, 2 kills. Maybe 1 through the bedroom and into the kids, or 1 through the perp and into the dog. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong with that much power inside a house. So I'm going back to regular standard handguns. In terms of caliber, look, don't believe the other myth. Oh, if it's not 45, it's not going to stop them. Zip it. Zip it with that 45 nonsense. The truth is, no handgun round is immediately fatal all the time. Most of the time, any handgun round is going to inflict harm and hurt, but it's not going to kill. Even a headshot. Yeah, a lot of people survive headshots. A lot of people survive multiple shots. I watched a video just a couple days ago where a law enforcement officer was shot at by a 12 gauge. He landed 9 shots into the guy that shot him, and both survived. Both walked away from it eventually. So, you know, 9 shots into your body and you still survive. Handguns are not that lethal necessarily. It's always the guy who gets accidentally shot that dies with 1 shot. But the people you intend to kill, they don't want to die. So it's weird, and I don't mean to be cavalier about that, but that's just the way it is. So you need lots of rounds to stop somebody, and it doesn't matter what caliber. The caveat to that is the 22. Look, will a 22 caliber kill somebody? Yes, absolutely. In fact, 22 caliber is one of the more lethal rounds on the planet. In terms of hard numbers, how many people have died being shot with a 22? That's mostly because of the popularity. Same reason that most, you know, Hondas have more car accidents than anything else. Well, it's because more people have Hondas, not because Hondas are more dangerous. 22 is the same story. The problem is 22s being rimfire tend to be a little iffy. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't fire. Between a rimfire, which is your little 22 Magnum, all that stuff, and the center fire, which is, you know, 380, 9mm and up from there, the center fires tend to work more reliably. 22, I've seen a lot of them fail, a lot, especially in times like this when production starts ramping up, getting faster. I noticed that boxes of ammo, you start running into 3, 4, 5, 6 misfires in a box of 22, and almost never do you get a rimfire, or excuse me, a center fire misfire. So there's where my problem is with 22. Now that said, again, if you shoot somebody with 22, it's gonna take a little bit longer to kill them. I mean, when a 9mm to the gut might kill you in 2 or 3 days, a 22 might kill you in a week. But in either case, 1 shot from either is not going to kill anybody fast enough to save your life. So multiple shots on target. What other? Look, I wanted to make this fast, so I'm trying to just bit right through it. So if you have any questions, if none of this is good enough, then the goal here was to get you started, to get you thinking, to get you asking me some questions, and I want to do a follow-up video where I can actually address all of your questions. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Good, we got this. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming along. Don't forget, please comment, like, follow, and let me know what you want to know for your situation.